Hello, fellas and ladies. I went to TIFF, that one. I did it again. Toronto International Film Festival for all you idiots out there. I watched an insane amount of movies. Some may say an unhealthy amount, 60 to be clear. I'll be front-loading a lot of them in the coming weeks, but I do have an article on everything I saw at TIFF on the beautiful Bite-Size Breakdown website. I don't know if it's going to be up by the time you're watching this, but even if it's not, just go to the website anyway. It's a good site. Great, even. I'll start the coverage off with Sentimental Value, the newest film from Joachim Trier, hot off of his instant classic film, The Worst Person in the World. Which, yeah, I love that movie. This film reunites Trier with Renata Reinsve, and she plays an actress who attempts to rekindle a broken relationship with her estranged father, who is a filmmaker. He tries to cast her in a movie, and when that falls through, he casts an American actress instead. I gotta admit something really quickly, because this movie, I remember watching it and thinking, yeah, this is great. I think from a direction standpoint, this is, Trier at his most ambitious. Some of the ways he uses the camera in this movie I thought was really impressive. There was nothing I was disliking about it. I actually loved almost everything about this movie while watching it, and yet I think I was a little, I felt a little led astray from the Cannes reactions. The Cannes reactions were like gargantuan. I would think, as buzzy as a lot of titles were there, that Neon picked up because they were on a spending spree. This is the only one they left, that they went into the festival with, pretty much. But it was easily the buzziest title out of Cannes, and, I think that was too much on my mind while watching it. Like, I was expecting to just get hit in the stomach immediately, and in full honesty, that didn't happen. It wasn't an instant gut punch, and I think part of that is because, unlike something like The Worst Person in the World, which I would right off the bat say is better than this movie, Worst Person in the World is a lot more, for lack of a better term, straightforward. It's about this one person. What she's going through is easy to swallow. It's just the way it's handled in The Worst Person in the World that makes it so brilliant and so instantly timeless. Sentimental Value isn't quite that. It's very multifaceted. We're basically following these four characters through these very complicated emotions. It's not as simple as, oh, they hate each other, now what? And I think that's kind of why it took me a minute to get walloped by this movie. I'm not kidding when I say this, that when I leave the movie, I was like, yep, great movie. Not particularly floored by it, but I knew I needed a minute, maybe even a second viewing. But then I was on the subway ride back to where I parked my car, and it started to come together in a way that, really was like, oh wow, that was a fantastic movie. The way that the movie is put together is a movie that demands your attention. It demands your time. It really is very, big in that way. Just from the opening, sequence where, it really introduces the house as, a character. The movie is very clear what it needs, what it's trying to put together. And while the movie, as it goes along, it becomes a little more complicated, I think now that I have the pieces together, I now have a better picture of a pretty excellent movie. I think that a movie that will definitely be better on a second viewing, because there isn't just one note of oh, they got catharsis, they did it. The movie is actually very honest about how that's a very complicated feeling. The beautiful feeling of forgiveness isn't one-sided. And the movie does also have a lot to say about family, but also a lot about art, about how it can be a healing mechanism, how art does replicate life a lot. And like family, like art, and like a house, it's something that always needs to be fixed. It's never going to be perfect, but it's always something that grows. And I think the movie has a lot thrown in there ambitiously about how time treats certain things. But beyond it being super smart, it's also very funny. I wouldn't call it slap my knee funny, but it's definitely got some funny industry humor about Netflix and influencers and shit that a lot of people like me will find very funny. I can talk about the performances very quickly because they're all as amazing as you think they are. Renata Reinsve, truly, she is just a generational performer. It seems like, at least. She's excellent in The Worst Person in the World, as we all know, and this is another step in her amazing early on career. Her and Joachim Trier are very good at working together because they just know how to hit a tone of not so simple emotions, and Renata does a very good job while never expressing obscene emotion. She's never gonna be scream crying in this movie. There is a sequence early on where we inhibit some of her stage fright, and her and Joachim Trier are excellent in this opening sequence. It's excellent stuff, really. I really loved that moment. I loved her performance in it. Stellan Skarsgård, who I should mention is so much a lead. I don't usually get mad at stuff like this, but Stellan Skarsgård is like, this movie's as much his as it is hers, maybe a little bit more her, but like, he's not supporting. He's also very good at playing this broken guy. You can see some of his like scumminess, but also the sincerity in him. I think Stellan plays that very well. Inga Ipstar Lilias is easily the best in show. She steals the movie, in my opinion. A lot of this movie, for her, is like silence. Like, she just very little, but towards the end, she definitely gets her moments to shine, and she kills it. Elle Fanning is also a real scene stealer. Even if I wasn't quite as floored with her. Maybe, and probably it's because she's the most detached from the family drama. But she does have her own little arc there, and she is excellent as well. I think that this is a cathartic film while not being ultimately about catharsis. I think that is what makes Sentimental Value so beautiful. It's a little unfocused, maybe, but I think it's because Joachim Trier has so much on his mind. And I do think there is something to be said about the fact that it didn't take me instantly to piece this movie's brilliance together. That can be conceived as a pro and a con, but I do think there is something to be said about the writing of this film. The fact that there's more to Renata Reinsva's character than just, I'm mad at dad, that there's actual loneliness in her that, you know, you can deceive as, like, you know, from her anger toward the father, but I think that the fact that that's in here at all, it speaks volumes to Joachim Trier's sincerity. The fact that there's no easy conclusions here, the fact that this movie wants to challenge you, I think Joachim Trier deserves a fucking medal for that. I've noticed from TIFF that this didn't play quite as well, and I'll get to that when I talk about Oscars, but I think part of that is because people were expecting a little bit more worst person in the world, which, as brilliant as that movie is, I can also see as a lot easier to digest. Which is why I'm putting that warning out now. There is a little, like, this movie is challenging, don't get me wrong, but I still think, like, as worthwhile as it can be, because I do think this movie's wonderful. With Sentimental Value, Joachim Trier continues his trend of examining broken people working out their bullshit, and here, Trier finds beautiful and grounded viewpoints to express the difficulties of familial reconciliation and how it connects to art. All that lifted with a phenomenal ensemble and outstanding direction. Sentimental Value is simply a great film, and I'm going to give it 9 Joachims out of 10. Admittedly, a little closer to an 8 than a 10, but I could easily see myself bumping it up on a rewatch. I can talk briefly about Oscars. This is getting nominated for Best Picture. As I mentioned, TIFF didn't quite go as well, but Telluride did. But TIFF is it's bigger names, and a much bigger crowd than Telluride, for being honest. Bigger sample size, I should say. It's still ranked second with the International People's Choice, but I can also say with out of shroud of doubt that it was not even close to the actual like People's Choice prize. That said, I think this movie's pretty locked in for Best Picture. Screenplay's in. International feature, I think it's been submitted already, it's in. Renata will be nominated for actress, although I think Jessie Buckley kind of ruined her shot at a win. Not that I ever believed her for a win. I think 4 nominations feel a little secure. I don't think Elle Fanning needs to get in. I think Inga Ipstar Lilias will definitely get in before her, even if SAG's a little more likely to go Elle Fanning. Although maybe they won't. Stellan Skarsgård's getting in. I don't think he needs to win. I think he's beatable, but he's gonna get in for sure. That's a lock. Not a lot of text you could really nominate it for, although editing is on the table. I actually went away thinking the editing would happen, but, you know, then competition happened. Direction, there is a path where, like, Trier just doesn't get in, and that doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but the fact that it's probably just getting 4 acting nominations does help elevate him a little bit. We'll see, but it's getting nominated for Best Picture. Whether or not it's top 5, it's getting in. Alright, that's it. Let's grab and share, and yeah, more TIFF to come. A lot more.